Hello, YouTube. This is Mike. How are you guys doing? Well, I am. This is day 7. This is day 7 of Omicron COVID for me. So I'm, out of the worst of it. But it's, those like if when you, it reminds me of really bad flus you get, even a week out, you're still like, oh, and you're not sick, you don't have a fever, you're not coughing, you might have a little bit of a but other than that, but it's just like you can't. That's where I'm at. So I'm not feeling super 100%, but I'm grateful I didn't die of COVID. So you guys in the last video, or yeah, based on the last video, you left some pretty good responses, which I think are worthy of some interaction. Before I do that, let me talk about the title of this video, which is that partners of borderlines, and this is true for any cluster B personality disorder, partners of borderlines, narcissists, even partners of alcoholics, drug addicts, when you're in one of those kind of narcissistic relationships, when you're taking care of somebody that's dysfunctional and they're abusing you and you're getting drained of all of your energy, there's a tremendous opportunity for healing that those people have that the borderline, for instance, doesn't. So borderline suffers from a mental illness. As I've said, this is extremely important if you don't truly understand that. And I got to be honest with you, most of you, in my opinion, which is all I have, most of you, in my opinion, if you haven't done the 4 things, you don't understand what BPD is, and you haven't fully comprehended the mental illness yet. So as I say, if you do completely understand the mental illness, then you will go, oh my God, what am I doing? This is a complete waste of my time. This is never going to work out. This is like trying to, pet a shark. It's never going to work. So if you're still trapped in the delusion of, wanting to be with them, if you can't stop thinking about them and you miss them horribly, it means you don't understand. And that's okay. This is part of this is why I keep saying that there's only one way out, which is to do the 4 things. Self-knowledge is not going to do it. Self-knowledge is only good up to the point where it motivates you to go take the action. Once you have the self-knowledge, if you don't take the action, that self-knowledge is meaningless. It just ends up becoming a distraction, and it ends up becoming a justification. As I said, it's like saying, an alcoholic, knows that they can't stop drinking, but, if they say, yeah, but I know that I can't stop, so that's okay. I'll be able to quit now that I know this. No, that's just not how addiction works. Just because you're addicted, that knowledge isn't going to stop you. You have to go do something about it. So, the borderline, there's things that they don't have an option to do that you have. And, if you stand back and look at it, the borderline wants to. Borderline wants to change. The borderline wants to heal. And if they could snap their fingers and make their mental illness go away, they would, and they can't. And so the best that they can get is to find some method, like DBT therapy, some method where they can learn to manage the symptoms. but they'll never be able to see people as anything other than their parents. They'll always see everybody as their parents. They'll never be able to truly see somebody objectively for who they are. They will always split. And so that's never going to go away. But if they work their asses off because they want to heal and they know they have a problem and they're willing to do whatever it takes, and they do that, they can have the ability to monitor their splits, and they can, I believe, based on some of my research, I don't know this personally, but based on what I've seen, they can perhaps have functioning relationships after, say, 10 years of intense therapy. But they'll never be able to, they're just things that they have to live with for the rest of their life. It's like being, born without a leg or an arm or something like that. You just have to accept that that's never going to change. If you're a neurotypical, which is a great word I love, which means that you don't have a mental disorder. If you're a neurotypical, then you can actually heal. You're just as bonkers as they are. You're just as deluded. In fact, you're enmeshed in that. You are the one who is the caretaker because you don't dissociate. You have an identity. You remember what happened yesterday and what's going to happen tomorrow. So that gives you more tools to keep the relationship going, which is why you're so good at being a codependent. But the rest of it, you're just the same. You're just as bonkers. You're operating from the same core wound, and you have your own dysfunction and your own level of abuse as well. It's a two-way street. Now, if we're going to compare who's getting more abused than the other, obviously we know the answer to that question. But I can guarantee you that if the borderlines had the opportunity that you have, they would take it. I can guarantee you the amount of pain that they live with, if they knew that there was something they could do to be free of that, they would do it. And that's what makes the codependent so tragic, because they have the ability. If you do the four things, which is the only thing I know, if you do the four things, you will actually retrain your neural pathways, because you're a neurotypical. Means your nervous system has the ability to adapt. It's really hard. You're going to have to work against a whole lifetime of neural habits, but you can do it. And the end result of it is that the pain goes away. You heal. You completely heal from the pain of that relationship. And yet, there's something about codependence that they just fiercely deny themselves that. They'll go out of their way to justify anything but that. And it's because, the only way that I can, make sense of it is because, when you were a little kid, you were told by your parents that in order to be loved, you have to be the doormat and you have to be the one who takes care of other people's needs, and your worth is only to the degree that you take care of other people. And so what it really is the desire to be loved. And there's nothing stronger than that. People, as I've said before, infants, if they don't get love, will die. Even if you feed them and clothe them and keep them warm and healthy, they will just die if you don't give them any attention or any love. So this is more powerful than anything else. And sad part is that, everybody listening to me, if you're a neurotypical, everybody listening to me can have complete healing from that relationship. You'll never have to be in pain again. But the difference is you'll have to do the four things. That's it. There's no other way around it. And I came on here, when was it? Yesterday, day before. And people were right. I was whining and complaining. I'm like, why aren't you guys doing the four things? I don't get it. I do get it. Don't get me wrong. I do understand. But I guess I thought, I bought into the hype that people were saying about me. Not that I felt anything about myself. It wasn't that I felt I was anything amazing. Trust me, I never once thought that. But I bought into the hype that I was reaching them, and therefore they would be willing to go and do what I did. Because here's the thing that doesn't make any sense. It still doesn't make any sense to me. How some of the people watching can praise me like I'm some kind of a god, but when I say, good, now go do the four things, they say, who are you to tell me how to do the four things? Who the hell do you think you are? You don't know everything. It wouldn't surprise me if people came on and they're like, yeah, I kind of like your channel and I listen to some of the stuff that you say, but a lot of it is, just your opinion and I don't. But yeah, it's interesting, and yeah, it's one of the many channels that I listen to. I mean, here's one. I got my ass handed to me, and again, it doesn't bother me. I'm totally okay with it. I welcome it. I welcome the honest exchange. I mean, for the first time, you guys are getting honest. Some of you. Let me see. I gotta refresh here, I think. So here's a guy, Khan Anal. I mean, I don't know. Is he on here today? I don't know. Let's see. Where's the... Excuse me. Okay, I don't see anybody on there. I don't see it. But Khan Anal is a guy who comes onto my channel. And we've had our back and forth. And what I've done up until now, I guess what I'm saying is I don't know what I'm going to do from here on out. I may not put any more time into this channel. I may restrict my time on this channel. I may just change. I may just come on here when I feel like it. Like if I feel like barfing something out having to do with BPD or NPD or something like that. But I no longer feel like I have a responsibility to you. I don't feel that. And I don't feel that because many of you have shown me that you also don't feel that. You don't feel you have a responsibility to yourself. And what it ends up being is just what you guys want from me. It's not all of you guys, some of you guys. What some of you guys want from me is just to whine and complain about how horrible the borderline is. And how, and get into all of the intricacy of their craziness and the pain. And that's really all you want. You don't want anything else. And that's the first step. The first step is to be able to relate and acknowledge, which is why the first few weeks of my channel, that's all I talked about, because that's what I needed to do. I needed to acknowledge I had been severely abused, that I was losing my mind, and that I wasn't crazy, and that they were crazy. I needed to understand how crazy they were so that I, could have that first step to just then get the strength to move on, which is exactly what happened. 2 weeks after I started the channel, I went off and did the four things, and I've never been in pain since then. It took me about 2 months to heal, and then I was healed. And then I came back just for the sake of coming back, thinking that you guys would want to do the same thing I did. But a lot of you don't. Not only do you not want to do the same things I did, you get very hostile and aggressive if I suggest that You should. This is what I did. Go do that. No, I don't want to do that. Tell me again how the borderline blah, blah, blah. Can you tell me again, why does the borderline do this? I mean, should I call my borderline? It's just, you know. But again, as you can tell, this doesn't bother me. So I know I appreciate the honesty some of you have given me. So here's one. I mean, one. So I don't know who this person is. I've never seen them before, but after my last video, this person says, "Whiny gripe fest. Just somewhere list the 4 things. 5 minutes of content in 52 minutes." I said, "Awesome. Glad you got the message." Now, what 4 things have you done? I have no idea if they're even interested in the 4 things. But let me just give you an idea of one of the things. So before I do that, let me say, here's what I've learned about therapists. Therapists, when a client goes to see a therapist, one of the first things that's going to happen is that the client is going to transfer all of the feelings they have towards their parents onto the therapist. So this is common knowledge. This is what happens when clients fall in love with their therapist. And therapists know this. And it's against the law for the therapist to have any personal interaction. They can't be friends with them. They can't date them because of this. And so the therapist must be educated enough and must be have enough morals to not take advantage of that, because it can be really damaging. Like incredibly, like, you know, like clients kill themselves over how damaging it can be. So the client falls in love with the therapist, and this is transference. Now the therapist doesn't talk them out of that, because this means that what's going to happen is that's what the therapist wants. The therapist wants you to transfer your feelings for your parents onto the therapist, and then the therapist is going to work with you to then individuate, to take those feelings and then apply them to yourself eventually. That's what the parents didn't do. The parents did not teach the child to love themselves and empower themselves, which is why they have whatever, you know, psychological issue they have. So that's a really long process. That can go on for years. And same thing with spiritual teachers. A true spiritual teacher will never date their students. They'll never be friends with their students, because this is why, you know, if you want to know why originally, you know, people put their pictures of their gurus on their, you know, and they bow down to the picture of their gurus. If the guru is really a teacher, he understands that this is transference and it's got nothing to do with him. But it's good, because then that will then give the person the ability to focus on the teacher long enough to then turn around and make it about themselves. Now, it's also guaranteed what will happen is at some point that transference is going to sour. It's going to turn completely opposite. So they start by worshiping the therapist or falling in love with the therapist. And then what ends up happening is that their then later feelings of hatred towards their parents, which they never got an opportunity to feel. Again, narcissistic parents can't tolerate your negative feelings. Whereas a healthy parent, you know, the 4-year-old walks in and says, "I hate you, Mommy." And Mommy says, "I know, that's okay. I love you. Come here." Whereas the narcissistic parent, if you say, "I hate you, Mommy," Mommy slaps you across the face and says, "How dare you talk to me like that? I'm your mother." So they never get an opportunity to individuate. They never get an opportunity to hate their mother. So at some point, the client will start to hate the therapist. And that's going to manifest in all kinds of resistance. You don't know what you're talking about. You're judging me. You said that. You hurt my feelings. I don't think I should work with you anymore. And then they'll want to do things like send them texts or emails, and the therapist will say, we need to talk about this in session. Because, in that professional scenario where you pay the therapist and you tell and the client says, I hate you, you said this to me and you said that to me, and the therapist says, where did that come from in your childhood? Who does that remind you of? And then they can work through their hatred towards their parents, and then they can individuate. So it doesn't surprise me that people transfer on to me. But I'm not a therapist. I'm not a therapist, and that's not what I do here. That's not my job. I didn't see that coming. But now that it's happened, I get it. But the problem is that I can't help you. And I certainly can't help you if, so let me just give you an example. This is the thing. It's so strange to me. I don't know. It's interesting. It's funny. It's educational. So this person 5 days ago, Khan Anal, he says, Mike, you replaced the black hole of confusion that my BPD X created. That's huge. I replaced the black hole of confusion? That's gone beyond human, right? That sounds really, I'm not saying that that's not his experience or was his experience. His feelings have changed drastically about me since then, but so so it makes me think, oh, okay, great. I have some, if you think that about me, if you think that I had the ability to replace the black hole of confusion in you, I have some suggestions that will heal you. You would think logically if somebody thought that about somebody and they had, based on my experience, here's what you should do next. You would think that they would go, oh my God, please, what should I do? But that's not what happens. This guy refuses to do the work. He refuses. And he wants to argue with me about why he doesn't have to do the work. All the time. And I'm at a loss. I don't know, it's okay. He can do whatever the hell he wants, but so after my video yesterday or whenever it was, where I was whining and complaining, like, what the hell's wrong with you people? Why won't you do the 4 things? Am I wasting my time? Blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. So he says, in response to the person who says whiny gripe fest, telling me I'm just whining, which he's right, I was. This person says now he's gonna play the therapist to me. And he says, let me mirror back how judgmental you are. Mike, you are being too controlling. Although I am not a psychiatrist, psychologist, or a mental health professional, I can tell that you are a codependent who needs to control what others think, feel, or say. And listen to this. And by the way, what makes you think, where'd it go? What makes you think you can control the viewer's intent of watching this channel? It's okay to watch the videos and not do the 4 things. If people are not doing what you tell us to do, my unsolicited advice is that you do not convince us enough whether the 4 things are effective enough to the point where the four things can be compared to a doctor's antibiotics. What makes you think that you can control what others do with the knowledge we've gained through your videos? The only power you have is blocking people when they challenge you. And I responded and I said, I completely agree with you. Not only did I not successfully convince you to do the four things, I'm completely powerless to convince you of anything. You're correct. People have the right to do whatever they choose. But I have to decide if my participation in the channel is helpful. So the way that I experience this, which I have to think about, is the way that it feels to me is Kananal and others are saying, Mike, when you delve deeply into this, it really opens things up in us and we really get off on that. And that's what we want. And here's what we demand that you do. You only get to talk about the things we want you to talk about. And you only get to delve into all the dark, seedy, painful stuff, and we have the right to obsess over what to do about the borderline and how we can fix them. And your job is to answer all of our questions. In fact, there was one guy who said, why aren't you answering my questions? And he wanted to know how to fix the borderline. And I'm like, I don't do that. What do you mean you don't do that? I'm on your channel and I'm asking you a question. So, I mean, the difference between this guy saying, you replaced the black hole in me that my borderline created, immediately to how dare you suggest to me what I should do? How dare you tell me, what to do with this knowledge? And by the way, I'm not giving away any knowledge. There's no knowledge here. At best, what I'm doing is I'm describing the internal workings of the codependent and the borderline. But there's no knowledge there. There's nothing to be gained from that. All it will do is it's a drug. It's just it's a soap opera. People watch soap operas all the time. They get off on it. It doesn't accomplish anything. There's no knowledge there. It's a childish, selfish way of masturbation. It's emotional masturbation. You get to drudge it up and feel it, but don't do anything about it. Don't accomplish anything with it. So that's why it's like, yeah, you're right. I can't make you do it. Obviously, I can't make you do anything. But it's still quite confusing to me how you could go from, it just shows again, it's very narcissistic. It's exactly what the borderlines do. This is how borderlines are. This is why, codependence and borderlines are so similar. And I feel like I'm being objectified. You're not allowing me to be an individual. And I have a very specific way of dealing with this. And you don't want me to be that. You want to objectify me and turn me into your borderline porn. Really, that's what it is. This channel is turning into borderline porn. You go and you get stimulated. It doesn't accomplish anything, but you get all wrapped up about it. And, if I was making money off of it or something like that, maybe. But, I'm not. And I'm not your therapist. So, but I'm not upset. There's nothing anybody that's said that's upset me. This guy wants to say how controlling I am and all that. And I don't know, maybe there's some truth to that, but I honestly don't care one way or another about this channel. My only desire has been, first off, for my own healing, which it accomplished. It accomplished my healing, And so on a personal level, I don't need it. And then I stayed because I believed that I was being helpful. But I don't know that I am. I don't like being objectified. I don't like being told that I can't ever talk about the four things. I can't have an opinion about that. I can't have, when people aren't, I can't do what I would want somebody to do for me. So not only are you right, I can't do anything, but you also can't tell me what to do. I mean, I could say, if you don't like my channel, go someplace else. I could put my foot down and say, I'm going to talk about the four things and only the four things. And if you don't like it, there's the door. But I don't know that I am motivated to do that. Something else. Let's see what else. I was asked by another person. So I guess I should just acknowledge how difficult it is. It's really, 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 really hard to go no contact. It's the hardest thing I ever did in my life. That's saying a lot. Hardest thing I ever did was go no contact. To make the decision and then follow through. And there's somebody coming on here who's, from what I read, still trying but hasn't gone no contact yet, but they're trying to. And just to give you an example, and I hope you can hear this, whoever this is, and you don't take it in a negative way, but this person asks if I'm willing to do an interview. And so I say, well, what do you want to interview me about? And she says the whole issue about why it's so huge about narcs and codependence right now, why society is mired in this. And I don't have it doesn't do anything for me, because it sounds like, again, we're focusing on the victim mentality of our society is so, the evils of our society. I mean, I've been around long enough, I can remember my grandparents talking like that. Oh, the evils of modern society. It doesn't mean that it wasn't true. And it doesn't mean that what you're asking isn't true. But I can't help but think, what good is it to be talking about narcissism in our society when you haven't been able to go no contact with your narc? I mean, what's the point? That's what I want. I want to help you go no contact with your narc. I don't really want to do that. That's what I mean. This is, people want to create borderline porn, narc porn. They don't really want to heal. And you can heal. I mean, imagine never having to have any negative feeling about your borderline or narcissist ex ever again. Imagine never being angry, never being sad, never being feeling victimized, never ruminating. Imagine never having that ever again. Like it never happened. That's what happened for me when I did the four things. And so having experienced that, I don't want to do anything less than that. And if this channel is just going to be borderline porn, then I just don't see the point. So, you guys were honest with me, so I'm being honest with you. And there you go. All right, so let's see. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. Nope, I don't see any questions here. What, we got 12 people on there. Evan Wenzel question. What motivates you to continue if you're not sure the channel is helpful? Well, that's just the point. I'm not motivated. I'm not motivated at all. especially when I get hammered. You know, when when people praise me in one breath, and then when I say, okay, good, now go do the 4 things, and they start telling me, don't tell me what to do. Who the hell do you think you are? You don't know what you're talking about. You're not somebody said that to me. You're not a therapist. You don't know what's. And now tell me about the borderline again. So what motivates me? I'm not motivated at the moment. That's why I'm asking. What do you guys think? Should I walk away? There's nothing I've said that I'm not gonna. I mean, I've said everything there is to say. There's really nothing more to say, right? New Jersey female, if you have a question, do me a favor, write the word question so that I can see it. You say, I want to go no contact. Should I explain myself why I no longer can talk to them? No. I get so much anxieties just talking to them and having constant nightmares. I think it's my body telling me to run. No, you don't have to tell them anything. You can just completely disappear. I mean, I think it's valuable to just leave some kind of a note. But thing is, we don't even know. I mean, we don't know. They don't. Borderlines don't. We don't know what they think and what they don't think. But if it were me, and it's not, but if it were me, I would say that I would, without having to talk to them, if you can't talk to them, then I would send them an email or a text or something. And I would say, I'm just letting you know that this relationship is damaging to me. And for my own health, I'm going to go no contact. I won't be contacting you again. I hope that doesn't hurt your feelings. I think you might have borderline personality disorder, but that's completely up to you to figure out. I wish you all the best. Goodbye. And then after clicking send, I would then go and block everything. I would block their email, their voicemail, their Facebook, Twitter. I would move. I would do everything in my power to make sure that they couldn't contact me ever again. And then I would get my ass to a CODA meeting, because that going no contact isn't enough. It's not enough, because what's going to happen is it's like going cold turkey. If imagine you're a drug addict, you're a heroin addict, and you got to quit, so you're going to go cold turkey. But what's going to happen the moment you go cold turkey is you're going to go into withdrawals. And so when you go no contact with your borderline or narcissist, you're going to go into withdrawals. So you need to get your ass to a 12-step meeting, a CODA meeting, ASAP. And you need to start working the steps. Otherwise, in my experience, it won't take. If it does take, and you're able to stay no contact, you won't heal. You'll still be emotionally and psychologically connected. And what I've seen is that people stay that way for decades. And it kills them. I've seen it kill people. I've seen the rumination, even though they're not with the borderline, I've seen it kill them. So that's my suggestion. Evan says, even if you leave now, you've still provided a valuable service. Yeah, that's what I mean. I agree. I've said everything there is to say, and there's, how many hundreds of hours of videos, where if somebody wants to, they can go back and listen to me talk about whatever they want to, whatever borderline porn they want to listen to. And I've definitely said over and over again, the 4 things and what they are. By the way, I didn't write that down. What are the 4 things? 1, go full no contact. 2, work all 12 steps of coda.org with a sponsor. Can't do it alone. And then sponsor somebody else. And then 3, which does not need to be done immediately, work with a psychologist. And then 4, daily meditation, which is really just step 11. So those are the 4 things. Evan Wenzel says talking to them is pointless. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I think every situation is a little bit different. If let's say they've ghosted you, you woke up one morning and they were gone and they've just disappeared. And then you finally realize I can't do this anymore. If they've ghosted you, then you don't owe them anything. If they've cheated on you, if they've split on you, you don't owe them anything. But sometimes people come to the conclusion when the borderline is there. They're being abusive. Maybe they're emotionally dysregulated and all that. They're being manipulative and controlling and whatever, but they're still there. And I think for your peace of mind, I think it's helpful to have and to verbally say, for yourself, it's over, and tell them. And again, you don't have to tell them in person. Give them an email or leave a note or something like that, and then you've done, because you don't owe them anything. It's not like you have this really great relationship and it's just come to an end. They've been abusing you and doing what they do in their pain. That's not necessarily their intention, but they end up doing that, and you don't owe them anything. I know that sounds so horrible, but it's true. What else? Anything else? Nothing else. All right, guys. Well, wish me a fast recovery. Again, I'm in was today 6 or 7? I think today's day 7. Day 7 of COVID, and even though I'm technically over it, I'm still it's still kind of lingering, and I'd really like to get back to normal again. All right, guys. Thanks for your time. I wish you all the best, and maybe I'll see you down the road. Take care.